Welcome to Hancock's VMware Half Hour. And welcome back to another episode of Hancock's VMware Half Hour. Okay, so today, what we're going to do in the next 30 minutes, although it can't be 30 minutes because I need to be away in 30 minutes time. So we're going to make this hopefully much shorter than that. So without further ado, what we're going to do today, we're going to have a little look at patching VMware Hypervisor ESXi 7. And in the lab here, we have an ESXi 7.03 host, which is build 2441114. And if we actually basically have a look at the web GUI, this is the last version of ESXi 7.03 R Romeo or Roger. So this version has the critical 0-day vulnerability, which is fixed by 7.03s. I will put these links in the description. VMware ESXi 7.0 update 3s, as reported by NHS England, which I believe is going to be no more. It's going to be wrapped up, but it's reported here, and it's obviously basically reported across the internet. If you have not seen this critical day or critical 0-day vulnerability in version 8, version 7 and version 6.7 and 6.5, I'm not quite sure where you've been, because the internet is sort of kind of blown up at the beginning of this month on the 4th of March 2025 when the patch was issued. So we're a little bit late with this one. If you've come here looking to how to patch VMware ESXi 8.03 from the 0-day vulnerability, then we've already basically done that in the urgent security guide in part 86. So go and have a little look at that one. I'll put that in the description. If, however, you are wanting to know how to patch ESXi 7, then this is the video for you. So without further ado, if you've been following Hancock's VMware Half Hour by now, then you know that first of all, we're going to log in via SSH. I like to have 2 SSH sessions open. One which is tailing the log. So that's basically, if I just show you that, tail space -f /var/log/ESX update.log. So we can actually basically see what's going on inside that. In the second SSH session, I've just done a VMware --v to basically show me the version. Our server is already in maintenance mode. Should be. If it's not, I'm going to put it in maintenance mode, but it doesn't really have to be in maintenance mode. But VMs do need to be off. So our server is now in maintenance mode. And as you can see here, updated ESXi 7.0 U3R. So I'm going to minimize that. And I'm going to paste this command, which I'm going to put in the description for you. So you can see what command that we're going to be using. I like to use the --dry-run, which is a bit similar to the what if command in PowerShell. So no changes are going to be made on the host, but it will actually basically give us and tell us any error messages that are going to come up. And here in the lab, I have to use the --no-hardware-warning. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm just going to remove that --no hardware warning, and then we will see what error message we get. And as you can see, this is what's actually basically happening in the tailed log. And while that's doing that, I'm just going to get an orange juice. Orange pop, I should say, or squash. It's cordial. It's not pure orange juice. And I'm going to drink an espresso. So this is actually going to fail. This is not going to update. First of all, this is doing --dry run. So no change is going to be made on the host. But this is going to fail because it's going to warn me that the CPUs in the server are not going to be supported in a later version of ESXi, and therefore it will abort. But it will actually prompt me, and it will actually tell me that I need to use the --, hardware version. So with that, I'm going to let this run. I'm going to bob off, and I will come back shortly when this has finished and we get that error message about no hardware warning. Okay, so I'm back. Okay, so I'm just actually basically looking here, and I didn't actually need. I'm obviously using a different server in the lab here that does actually have supported CPUs. So I didn't actually need to use the -- no hardware warning. My bad. But you can actually basically see it says message dry run only, host not changed. The following installers will be applied or would be applied if this was a server. So, okay, so no error messages there. So I'm just going to remove the dry run. And then this is now going to patch our ESXi host. So I'm going to just hit enter. And we should see the same sort of thing happening in the ESX update.log up here, which I'm tailing. And we're just going to sit here basically to watch for that. Now, whilst that's doing that, I'll waffle on. There still does seem to be an awful amount of confusion. I'm not quite sure whether or not it's because that at the beginning of the month, on the 4th of March, this was actually basically flagged as a 0-day vulnerability in ESXi 6.5, 6.7, 7.0, and 8.0. So more people recognize the fact that they needed to patch their home labs or they needed to patch their servers so that they didn't have this critical update, critical vulnerability. And people don't normally patch them, I don't know. But there does still seem to be a huge amounts of confusion about, how to patch your servers. So this method I'm doing here, and the method that I did in part 86 and part 87, which was for version 8.0, is what I like to call the dirty method. It allows you to pull the update directly from VMware or Broadcom's servers. So there is no download. Some people have actually basically asked when I've pasted this URL, can I have the download? It is no download because it's doing an over-the-air update. So there is no actual physical download. There's no zip file. There's no vib file. There's no depot file that's downloaded and applied to the host. This update is actually being downloaded direct from Broadcom and applied and written to your server. Now, a couple of people turned around and said, well, is this not risky? Well, and I think they were sort of kind of saying it could get corrupted being downloaded. Well, everything that's actually downloaded and applied to the boot bank on the ESXi server is actually checked. The signature is actually checked. So if there was any corruption, it would just fail and tell you. And you can see here, verifying VIB. So all the VIBs are verified. They're checksummed. So the chances of actually basically a corrupt VIB actually being downloaded over the internet, I think is very slim. But even if it was downloaded and applied, the way that ESXi is designed is it has two boot banks, boot bank and alt boot bank, and obviously there we've just finished, but I'll just explain. There are two boot banks. There's alt boot bank and boot bank, and the update actually basically writes to the boot bank which is currently not in use or not booted. When the update is completed, the installer actually changes the boot bank that will run at next boot. And if you shut down and restart your host and you get an error message, you can actually basically restart the host again and roll back. And by rolling back, basically it just flicks that flag again to run the other installer. So I think it answers that question. I think it's very, very, very slim that using an over-the-air update is going to corrupt and break your ESXi server. So this is what I like to call the dirty method. Over-the-air updates, which can be applied to 7.0 and 8.0. You could do 6.7, you could do 6.5 when they were in support. They're not anymore, so you can't do over-the-air updates anymore for 6.5 and 6.7. And that leads me on to the fact that if you don't have access to the internet or you don't want to do an over-the-air update, then you need to have access to the depot file. The depot files are available from Broadcom as downloads if you are entitled to download those updates, i.e. you currently have a site ID and you have a contract. you know, there are still questions. I'll tell you what we'll do. I'm just going to restart this host. So have a little look at here. ESXi 7.0 U3R followed by build 244.11414. So I'm just going to restart that host. And when we're restarted, then that's actually basically going to kick out these SSH sessions. But we'll wait for that, and I'll just explain. There is a knowledge base article on the Broadcom website that does actually basically state that if you have an expired support subscription or support or contract, Broadcom will give you the ESXi updates for 7.0 or 8.0. In reality, in the wild, we have seen if you do not have a site ID, if you don't have an existing expired agreement with Broadcom, you may find it that you are not entitled, or they will not give you those updates, just to clear that up. So in the next couple of videos that I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to use the depot files for 6.7, 7.0 and 8.03, and you would use this mechanism if, one, you didn't have access to the internet, or this particular mechanism over the air is not working. Now, without a license, without support, you can still access these updates, and you can still update using the over the air method. Whether or not you are entitled to do that, whether or not that legally you are allowed to do that, whether or not that you are in breach of the end user license agreement, I think really is a question between the lawyers and Broadcom. I think, to be honest with you, I've heard various different reviews. I have read on the Broadcom site that actually turns around and says that if you do not currently have a support contract, then you are not entitled to the updates and you should not be using the updates. But again, I'm not going to argue about that. I think that is the question for the lawyers, and I think that is the question for Broadcom. So I'm wondering if, after all that waffle, that we have restarted. So I'm just basically going to do a refresh. I'm going to log in as root, and I'm hoping that our over the air, or dirty method as I like to call it, maybe I got the password wrong. Okay, logged in. Should be still in maintenance mode. We are still in maintenance mode, and you can now basically see it says ESXi 7.0 U3S 24585.291-standard. So there you go. In less than 15 minutes, I'm getting better at this. In less than 15 minutes, I've showed you how to apply the latest update to ESXi 7.03R to update it to 7.0 U3S, which fixes us from this critical 0-day vulnerability by using the dirty method or the over-the-air update, which you can use on all your servers. But I still don't really know why people aren't using VLCM. If you have a vSAN cluster, if you have a large cluster, and you have VMware vCenter Server, then utilize a VLCM and images attached to your cluster. And we'll revisit. I said I already have done videos on using VLCM, applying updates to 7 and 8. I will put those in the description as well. But we'll revisit that in a few videos time. So next couple of videos coming out will basically be using the depot files for 6.7, 7.0 and 8.0. Please don't ask where I got them from. Obviously I'm entitled to download and use these as part of the licenses that we have here. I'm not going to share these files because Broadcom turns around and says that we cannot distribute software. So it would be a breach of the end user license agreement if I was to distribute these depot files. So please don't ask. I keep getting many requests asking me, can I have the depot file? Can I have the depot file? Do you know where the depot files are? If you are entitled to use the depot files, they will be available to you in the Broadcom portal. It's as simple as that. Okay, so again, thanks so much for watching another episode of Hancock's VMware Half Hour. Don't forget to subscribe. don't forget to like, and if you don't likey, then don't likey, and I'll see you again soon for another episode where we use the depot files to patch 6.7, 7.0 and 8.0 as well. So once again, I'm done. I'm out of here. Thanks very much, and good afternoon and goodbye.